Elon Musk had always been a man driven by reason, precision, and an unrelenting thirst for discovery. His mind worked like the machines he built, systematic, exact, and forever in motion. For decades, his focus had been entirely consumed by the future of humanity: electric cars, reusable rockets, artificial intelligence, and interplanetary survival. To many, Elon appeared almost superhuman, a figure more logic than feeling. But behind the iron frame of ambition lay a quiet loneliness, a space that success could never fill. He had known love before, in ways that had both inspired and wounded him, but time and heartbreak had taught him to bury that vulnerability under layers of work and silence. For years, he had believed that emotions distracted from purpose, and that love was an indulgence he could no longer afford. Everything began to change one quiet morning in Austin. Musk had been invited to visit a children's hospital, one of several medical centers his foundation supported. The visit wasn't meant to be public or grand. It was a private tour to see how advanced prosthetics, funded through his donations, were transforming young lives. Inside the lab, among the soft hum of machines and the laughter of children testing their new prosthetic limbs, Elon met Maya. She wasn't a celebrity or an executive. She was a biomedical engineer, soft-spoken but confident, whose eyes carried the calm of someone who had long made peace with the chaos of the world. She was explaining a new prosthetic hand that could respond to nerve signals when Elon joined the discussion. He asked her a few technical questions, expecting the usual polite admiration he often received. Instead, Maya challenged him. She didn't defer to his fame or wealth. She questioned the scalability of his approach, suggested more efficient alternatives, and when he complimented her design, she replied, "Sometimes technology doesn't have to reach Mars. Sometimes it just needs to reach the heart." That line, delivered so gently, lingered in his mind long after the visit ended. In the days that followed, Elon found himself thinking about her words. He had spent decades looking outward, toward planets, systems, and galaxies, yet rarely inward, toward the emotional fabric of human life. Her perspective had stirred something dormant in him. So he returned to the hospital a week later, under the excuse of reviewing progress. The children greeted him like a hero, but it was Maya he looked for. When he found her working quietly with a young boy learning to grasp a toy using his new prosthetic, Elon paused. He watched as she knelt beside the child, guiding his small fingers, celebrating each successful motion with a smile that lit up the entire room. It wasn't grand or dramatic, it was kindness in its purest form. Over time, Elon's visits became more frequent. Sometimes he came to discuss technical improvements, other times he simply sat with the children, asking them about their dreams. Maya was often there, steady and patient, never overwhelmed by his fame or brilliance. She treated him not as a billionaire, but as a man who, despite his achievements, was still learning how to connect. She once told him, "The greatest invention isn't built in a lab, it's built between people." He didn't respond immediately, but her words echoed in him long after she left the room. Slowly, an unexpected friendship grew between them. They began to share long conversations about science, philosophy, and the quiet responsibilities of kindness. Elon spoke of his fear that humanity was becoming detached, that technology was making people colder. Maya listened without judgment. "Then build warmth into your designs," she said softly. "Machines don't have to replace empathy. They can amplify it." That sentence struck him deeply. It was the first time in years he had heard someone speak of technology not as power, but as compassion. He found himself opening up to her in ways that surprised him. He confessed that, despite his public image, he often felt alone, that success came at the cost of simple human connection. Maya didn't comfort him with empty words. Instead, she replied, "You've spent your life building things that reach the stars. Maybe it's time you build something that helps you stay grounded." Her honesty disarmed him. No one had spoken to him like that in a long time. Weeks turned into months. The hospital project flourished under their combined effort, blending Elon's resources with Maya's innovation. Yet beyond the work, something deeper unfolded, quiet, unspoken, and profoundly human. He began noticing the smallest gestures, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when concentrating, How she stayed late to fix a design flaw others would have ignored, how her laughter seemed to cut through the fatigue of endless days. For a man who thrived on logic, these emotions felt dangerously unfamiliar, but also undeniably alive. When he finally admitted to himself that he was falling in love, it didn't come with grand declarations. It came with peace. He realized that Maya wasn't someone he wanted to impress, she was someone he wanted to understand. She had shown him that love wasn't a distraction from purpose, it was its foundation. Without it, all his inventions, all his dreams, felt hollow. It wasn't long before others noticed the change in him. His staff at SpaceX remarked on how he smiled more often, how his tone had softened. During a team meeting, when asked why he seemed unusually relaxed, he simply said, "Sometimes you just need to meet the right person to remind you why you started." When the story of his new relationship quietly leaked, fans around the world were stunned. The man who had once seemed unreachable, married only to his work, had found love again. But this wasn't the sensational, celebrity kind of love people expected. It was grounded in kindness, empathy, and mutual respect. For the first time in years, Elon Musk wasn't driven solely by the stars above him, but by the light he had found right here on Earth. When the world learned that Elon Musk was in love again, it felt like the internet collectively paused for a moment. People who had followed his journey through triumphs and controversies were stunned. This wasn't a new rocket launch or a bold AI announcement, this was something far more human. For a man who rarely showed his private side, Musk's quiet confirmation of his relationship with Maya felt like the softest yet most powerful revelation of all. At first, fans were skeptical, believing it was just another rumor. But when Elon himself shared a brief post on X saying, "Sometimes love finds you when you stop chasing it," the message carried a depth that words rarely captured. The public's reaction was divided between disbelief and admiration. Some joked about how even the world's busiest man found time for love, while others saw it as a reminder that even the most brilliant minds need emotional connection. Yet beneath the humor and curiosity, there was something profoundly inspiring about the story. It wasn't about wealth, fame, or luxury, it was about two people who found meaning through kindness. Elon had spent most of his life trying to save the future of humanity, but in Maya, he had found someone who reminded him to also cherish the present. Their relationship unfolded quietly, away from the noise of media and speculation. They spent time together working on small projects, designing low-cost prosthetics, visiting hospitals, and mentoring young engineers who dreamed of using science to change lives. Elon admired Maya's unwavering focus on compassion. She had a way of grounding him, reminding him that success wasn't just about scale, but about sincerity. He often said to her, "You make me want to build things that heal instead of just impress." Maya would smile and respond, "That's because you finally see people, not just progress." Despite their desire for privacy, it was impossible to escape the public eye completely. Cameras occasionally caught glimpses of them together, walking near SpaceX's headquarters, laughing during a conference, or helping distribute educational kits to schools. Each image sparked waves of discussion online, but neither of them paid much attention. They weren't building their relationship for attention, they were building it for peace. Elon had been through enough public scrutiny to know that love couldn't survive under constant observation. So he protected it fiercely, not with secrecy, but with respect. The media expected glamour, but what they found was authenticity. Elon and Maya weren't attending celebrity events or making public declarations. Instead, they were living quietly, working side by side to make small but meaningful changes. She inspired him to slow down, to take walks without his phone, to read books without thinking of optimization, to enjoy silence without feeling unproductive. He once joked in an interview, "I used to measure time in launches and deadlines. Now, sometimes I measure it in how long I can stay disconnected from work, and that's progress too." What made their connection so powerful was its simplicity. They shared a love rooted in purpose, not perfection. Maya didn't expect Elon to be less of who he was, she just encouraged him to be more human within it. For years, he had been surrounded by people who wanted something from him, investors, journalists, admirers, but Maya wanted nothing except truth. That honesty gave him freedom. He no longer felt the pressure to always be Elon Musk, the genius. With her, he could simply be a man, flawed, tired, hopeful, and learning. Their conversations often went late into the night. They would talk about the moral responsibility of innovation, the beauty of imperfection, and the power of kindness. Sometimes they would sit in silence, just existing together. For Elon, these moments were more valuable than any business success. He once told a close friend, "For the first time, I'm not thinking about the next big thing. I'm just thinking about how lucky I am to feel something real." That shift in mindset was visible to everyone around him. His speeches became more reflective, his tone gentler, and his interactions more patient. It was as if love had recalibrated the way he saw the world. Of course, not everyone celebrated his newfound happiness. Some critics doubted the sincerity of his relationship, claiming it was another distraction or a temporary phase. But those who knew Elon best could see the difference. He wasn't distracted, he was more focused than ever, but his focus now came from a place of emotional balance rather than restlessness. Maya's presence had reminded him that compassion wasn't weakness, it was a form of intelligence too. Together, they began supporting new initiatives focused on human-centered technology, ensuring that advancements in robotics and AI were used to uplift rather than replace people. Elon often credited Maya for expanding his perspective. "She reminds me that technology should have a soul," he said during one conference, his voice unusually tender. It wasn't a rehearsed statement, it was the reflection of a man who had rediscovered empathy. The world took notice. Fans who once admired him for his intellect now respected him for his humanity. Messages poured in from people saying his story gave them hope, that it reminded them to believe in love again, even after heartbreak or exhaustion. One comment read, "If Elon Musk can fall in love again after everything he's been through, maybe it's not too late for any of us." That sentiment spread quickly, turning what began as celebrity gossip into something more heartfelt, a collective reminder that kindness still matters. Elon and Maya didn't respond to the flood of attention. They didn't need to. They let their actions speak. They continued visiting hospitals, sponsoring research, and mentoring students in underprivileged communities. Each act of generosity reflected the quiet strength of their bond. Love, for them, wasn't a spectacle, it was a shared mission to make life gentler for others. When Elon was asked during an interview what love meant to him now, he paused for a long time before answering. "Love," he said finally, "isn't about finding someone who fits your world. It's about finding someone who helps you see it differently." That single sentence resonated with millions. It wasn't the statement of a billionaire, it was the confession of a man who had finally learned that even in a world driven by technology and ambition, the most profound form of progress is found in the human heart.